everybody, welcome back to my channel. Hope everybody's having a great day today. Hope everything's going your way today. Today, I'm coming with a rankings video. Yes, today I'm going to be doing a ranking of all my full size and Midi Natasha Denona palettes. Yes, it's all about Natasha today. So, if you want to just hang out with me while I rank my Natasha Denona palettes, then just keep on watching. Okay, everybody, let's get started. Okay, guys, so yeah. There's absolutely zero time for small talk today, guys, because I'm really excited to get on with this here video. And I'm sure, as you can tell by the intro and the thumbnail, I'm going to be ranking for you my full size and Midi Natasha Denona palettes. Now, while I do have quite a few 5-pan and mini palettes of hers, yeah, we're going to limit this video to just ranking the full size ones, because yeah, if I was to rank every single Natasha palette that I had, we'd be here all day. So, without further ado, guys, let's get into this video. And to tell you the truth, guys, I only have 25 palettes here that I'll be discussing today. But I feel like 25 full and midi palettes is all that she has. I could be wrong, but I'm not sure. But I don't think so. So let's just start. Okay, guys, so I will be ranking these palettes, of course, from my least favorite to my favorite. And that's not to say by any means that any of these palettes are like horrible or anything like that. There are just some, for various reasons, that I prefer over others. So let's just start. So, at number 25, guys, we have the Natasha Denona 10 eyeshadow palette. Now, guys, this is like an all shimmery satin palette. And while the formula is pretty good, it's not as good as some of her others because, yeah, let me show you guys. When you look at these, I mean, they really look like satins, if I'm being honest. So, yeah, that is the reason that this is like at 25, because for one thing, guys, I mean, you could create a full look using this palette if you like satins in your crease, but your girl Lily don't do that. Not when there's so many other mattes floating around. So yeah, for that reason, guys, this one came in at number 25. Okay, guys, coming in at 24th, this is the Natasha Denona Pastel Palette. Now, guys, hear me out, hear me out. This is a pretty decent palette, but I feel like, I mean, while you do see a nice array of pastels in here, I feel like some of the shimmers in this palette are lacking just a little bit, guys. So, like, all right, this shade right here. This is Adriatic, okay? That is this shade right here, okay? It has a lot of promise when you're looking at it, like, up close, far away. But, guys, I mean, come on now. I mean, are you a matte or are you a satin? Like, pick a side. And I also feel like some of these mattes, I mean, they're just apart, guys. Like, these blues, okay, like, this one, guys, this really hardly showed up for me. Yeah, I mean, and I mean, the rest of the shimmers, they're just fine, guys. I mean, they're just fine. I feel like, though, this is not her best work, okay? It's just not, guys. It is just not. And I mean, if this is one of you guys, my peeps' favorite palette, I mean, I am happy for you. Go off. But at least for me, guys, I have better pastel palettes in my collection from indie brands, black-owned brands, even Profusion, guys, when it comes to the mattes. Just the mattes. But yeah, I feel like she just fell short. While this was something new and innovative from Natasha Denona, and I could totally respect that, and I'm totally gonna always keep it because I love Natasha Denona, this just wasn't her best work, guys. So for that reason, this is in 24th. Okay, guys, coming in at 23rd, this is the Natasha Denona Tropic Palette. Now, guys, I remember when this palette released, honey. I remember when it released. I wanted to get this palette quick, fast, in a hurry because, yeah, guys, I mean, look at the color story. It's really cute. But I feel like the reason I really jumped on this palette is because that was during my rebellious phase where when people would be on the tube talking about how palettes didn't work, it's just something about me that wanted to prove them wrong. I mean, I still got a little bit of that in me, guys, but I digress. But yeah, I mean, the reason this is in the place that it is and it's so low, not that it's not a pretty palette. I mean, that bottom row is the bomb. And that blue right here, guys, she needed to have this blue in a single because it's so gorgeous. Guys, I have no problem with the performance of these shades, except, guys, there is one. There is one. I feel like people were being challenged by, I want to say, is it this green or is it this blue? You know, it was getting hard panned and things like that. Yeah, guys, see, that looked like Natasha Denona circa 10 palette, okay? It's that kind of texture, guys. I mean, it has no glitz to it, okay? And then as far as this blue is gorgeous. But yeah, I mean, still, it has no glitz to it, guys. And I feel like the mattes that she chose in this palette, like, do they really go with the satin / shimmers that are in this palette? Not really, guys. Not really, not really. Because, like, I mean, this is my fair and light skin tone beauty's dream. But, okay, what about my deeper skin tone beauties? Heck, what about even me and my medium complexion? Guys, I mean, what are we going to do with these? What are we going to do with these mattes, okay? Besides do a wash of color, okay? And then let's see, even this little shade sangria here, okay? Yeah. Again, guys, not her best work. A pretty color story, but I feel like it could have been a little more thought out. But I do like the palette on a day when I just want to wash a color. But for that reason, guys, this is in 23rd. Now, guys, I feel like this may be an unpopular opinion, but nonetheless, guys, this is in 22nd. Yeah, the Natasha Denona Retro Glam Palette. Now, guys, hear me out, hear me out. I feel like when she came out with that mini retro palette, if that's what it was called, it was like all the rave, guys. People really love that little wash of color, child. And when I saw this palette, this is a palette I did not get right away. This is a palette that is pretty new to my collection. Like, it's new to my collection. Like, only a few months in my collection. And I feel like when looking at the color story and after using the palette, I see why I was not in a rush. Now, guys, it's nothing about the color story because, believe it or not, pinks and mints and stuff like that, they look so cute together, guys. They really do. Because I really do love my, oh, what's the name of them? They leave me. I love my Lime Crime Big Venus palette, the one that, like, had these shades and these tones in it. But, guys, again, it is the shimmers and it is like low-key the mattes. Now, okay, guys, the shimmers are fine. They're fine. I mean, they're fine for what they are. All right. But look at them. Do you see those? Like, I mean, do you think of Natasha Denona when you see these? You know, Natasha Denona, she's about the glitz. She's about the glam. And these are the shimmers, guys. I mean, and don't get me wrong, guys. This is a nice palette. And there are, like, people who do not like, you know, shimmers to be boom, bam in your face. There are people who like the subtle look. And this is a very subtle wearable palette. But for the shimmers to perform like that, and then to swatch these mattes, and this is what I get. I mean, I don't know, guys. I just don't know. So, I mean, it's okay and all, but I feel like if I were not a Natasha Denona collector somewhat, I would not have purchased this palette, or I would not have not kept this palette. I would have tried to use this right away Because, guys, I mean, it saddened me when I use it. I did get a cute look, but this is not her best work, guys. It's just not, guys. It's just not. And it's not too many places you can go with this palette. Like, you can do a basic look, you know what I'm saying? A brown look. You can even do like monochromatic looks, but how monochromatic are they gonna be if they don't really show up on your lid, you know? So yeah, I really wanted to love this palette more. I felt a little bit let down, but it's still a good palette. It's just not the palette for me. So for that reason, this is in 22nd. Okay, guys, coming in at 21st. Pretty much, it's only because of the color story, not because of the performance at all, guys, at all. Yeah, the Natasha Denona Zen9 Palette. Now, guys, she was very innovative for Natasha Denona when she came out with this palette. I am not gonna hold you. This is a beautiful color story. I mean, this color story, it is the bomb.com. I will not lie to you. I'm not going to throw shade on this here palette at all, guys, at all. I feel like this is a nice alternative to, say, the Jeffree Star palette if you're not supporting him and things like that. This is a nice color story. Now, these shimmers up in here, I can get behind these shimmers, guys. I really can. I can get behind them all, okay? This is a real nice palette, okay? Even down to the mattes. I mean, well, with the exception of this shade right here, Night Sky, which lost points because, yeah, that's one of her, like, cream to matte thingamabobs. And when you swatch it out, it's quite pigmented. But those of you guys, my peeps, who have used her cream to, like, matte formulas, know that they can sometimes be kind of problematic. And I actually had to pull from my mini Zen9 to get the darkest shade in that, which is the black, to deepen up my look because this one just did not work for me. But that, in addition to this, pretty much, guys, I mean, you are going to be limited to like a glam look, a nighttime look. Like, this is a palette that if you wore it to work, like, which shades are you gonna wear? Okay. You can do flurry, okay? You can do flurry and then maybe this color right here and not, you know, and not seem to be like inappropriate and say, depending on your environment. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. I will wear this at noontime, okay? I wear this at high noon on a Tuesday. But for most of my beauties, or some of my beauties, I'm sure, yeah, this can kind of be an intimidating palette. But the formula is totally there. So the only reason I'm ranking it where it is because there's really only a special place to really use this palette. And because I had to pull in another matte to deepen up my look. And I like a one and done type of a palette. So for that reason, guys, this is in 21st. Okay, guys, and coming in at number 20. Yeah. The Natasha Denona. Look at my mess, guys. Look at my mess. Yeah, look at my mess. The Natasha Denona Zen9 Palette. Guys, now, when you look at this color story does seem like a pretty versatile color story. In my opinion, guys. In my opinion. But when I'm looking at, like, deepening shades and things like that, we really only have two, guys. We've got this shade up here, which is, what is this called? Mantra. And we got this shade here, which is Zeal. Okay. Now, guys, about these. All right. These mattes, they're like very soft, very buttery, very smooth. But the green, which you know my favorite color is green, that's one of the cream to powder thingamabobs, okay? But, I mean, they swatch out rather nicely. I just found when I use this, not even just with the mattes, but I feel like some of the shimmers as well were a miss. Like this shade Luster here, guys, that pretty goldy shade. No, guys, like, it's very, like, very subtle, guys. It's super duper subtle. Like, yes, guys, let me bring you guys closer, okay? It's super duper subtle. Like, you see that, guys? Like, yeah, and then, like, some of her other shades in here, like, this one is okay, but the formula still reminds me a lot of the Retro Glam palette. I mean, it's a nice palette for what it's worth, guys. It is. But other than that, like, where else are we going to go with this palette? Now, that's a pretty shade. It is definitely a pretty shade right there. And, yes, the palette is cohesive. It is. I love this color story. And that's what really drew me in at first to it, you know, if I was not a somewhat collector. But, again, guys, not one of her better formulas. And I just feel like she can do so much better than this because she has done it, even with other Midi palettes. So, yeah, I feel like I wasn't, like, wowed when I used this palette. It didn't leave me with great vibes. Yeah, so for that reason, I mean, I'm putting it at 20. Next. Okay, guys, coming in at 19, and this is strictly because of the color story. Nothing else, guys. Nothing else at all. This is the Natasha Denona Love Palette. Now, guys, I really do love this palette. I'm not gonna hold you. I really do love this palette. This is like a Valentine's Day lover's dream. Like, this checks all the Valentine's Day boxes. But, again, that's why it's in 19 and it's not higher because, yes, there are only a few ways you can go with this palette. You either doing pink or purple with a pop of red. That's it. That's what you're doing with this palette. Now, I can't see making like a smoky evening type look with maybe like this shade right here, which it feels like one of her cream to powders. But guess what? She did it right in this one. This palette is going. And yes, the shimmers, like, I'm not going to hold you. Now, there is maybe one or two duds in this palette as well. Like this shade right here, Giving. This is Giving right here. That's more like a topper shade, right? Yes, it is, guys. It is. But it's just such a pretty color story. And anytime I've used this palette, I've gotten such pretty, like, feminine, soft looks. But that's about it, guys. I mean, if you're wanting to do just something on the day-to-day, like, this is not something you can just put in your travel bag and think it's going to make you through every single look that you have when you go on your trip. Unless you're doing pinks, purples, and reds. But, I mean, that's the only thing about the palette, guys. Okay, that's the only reason it's ranked lower, because of the color story and it has maybe one or two duds. But other than that, guys, it's a good palette. It's just not, you know, top drawer. Okay, guys, coming in at number 18. And I'm actually shocked it wasn't lower, but the practicality of it made me rank it higher. This is the Natasha Denona Safari Palette. Now, guys, this is her all matte palette. It consists of cool tones and it consists of warm tones. Now, guys, I'm not going to lie to you. When I first used this palette, I had the hardest time. Okay, guys, there's currently consensus out there that these cool tone shades on the Side Pro are rather patchy, and yeah. So far, I agree with the consensus. Yeah, buddy, this is patchy as hell. This shadow is patchy as all get out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try something different. Okay, guys, I'm going to move a little closer because, yeah, I'm about to expose Natasha Denona. Because, yeah, this palette was $129 and this should look much. Just it's time for me to expose Natasha Denona once again. Look at this patchy mess. Okay. And for those of you guys who don't know me out there, yes, I know how to apply shadow. It didn't work when I powdered my base. It didn't work with a sticky base. So, yeah. There is no need of me finishing up a look with this palette, because this palette is going back. But then again, there's no need for me to get mad with Natasha Denona, because I keep falling for the okie doke. Yeah. It's my own fault. I went straight in with like the cool tones. And yeah, it turned out to be a patchy mess. Like, it turned out to be a patchy mess. No matter what I did, it ended up patchy. But I feel like once I really learned the palette, learned what techniques work with the palette, I was able to turn out a nice look. I think I had used this palette like a am I gonna keep it or drop it or something like that, even though I already knew I was not gonna drop no Natasha Denona palette, but I digress. But it did me so good, guys. And I found that with this one, you have to set your lids. Like, I can't just go in with an eyeshadow base and just think it's gonna be all world. No. I had to set it. I had to start with a transition shade, because if you try and go dark to light with this palette, the cool tones, guys, yeah, it's not gonna work out for you. Okay, well, it didn't work out for me. You might have better luck. But yeah, but I love the color story of this. And I love the idea of an all matte palette. All matte looks are all the rage. With an all matte look, even with an all matte look and popping this in your inner corner, I mean, yeah, it's going. This palette is going. But the reason it's ranked as low as it is because I like a one and done palette. I like a palette I can kind of travel with and be okay. So that's not this palette. No, it's not this palette. It's fine. Don't get me wrong. It's fine. But it's a little bit too finicky for me, guys. So for that reason, this is number 18. Okay, guys. Coming in at number 17. And I thought maybe it would be higher. But no. After comparing this to the rest of the ones that I have, it ended up, you know, toward the bottom. This is a Natasha Denona Trio Chrome palette. Now, guys, Natasha gets like an A+ for effort on this, okay? A+ for effort. Like, this is a nice palette, okay? This palette is going. This palette is nice. Now, I feel like the thing that did me in with this, yes, we do have those three trio chromes, okay? I want to say, are they dual chromes? Do she call it a trio chrome because there's only 3 in there? I'm not sure. I don't know. Let's just watch. But I feel like she came out with this. This was an innovative thing for her. Everybody wanted this palette, okay? Everybody wanted this palette. Guys, I mean, can you see why? I mean, those 3 of themselves need to be single, okay? They are the bomb.com. Like, we're not gonna we gonna give her moment with this. We are gonna give her moment with this. But when you look at the rest of the palette, like, I feel like dual chromes are a strong type of shade, and you need strong type of mattes. There is nothing about these mattes in this palette that screams strong. The deepest matte that we have here is Scrap, okay? And Scrap really, like, it's not really that deep, guys. So I feel like maybe the purple shade, manganese. See, no, guys, no. They're just not strong enough for the dual chromes in this palette. And I feel like while my deeper skin tone beauties can use this, there's not many places you can go when it comes to making a dramatic look with this palette. It's just not, guys. It is just not. Like, I can appreciate her layout, though, because you can make a look with all these shades. You can make a look with all these shades. You can make a look with all these shades. And that's all good. But I feel like we didn't need both of these. We didn't need both of these, okay? We did not need both of these. We did not need both of these. You could replace that with a deeper shade, like an aubergine, okay? An aubergine purple would have set this palette off. So, yeah. It is a nice palette. Nothing wrong with the quality. It blends out like a dream. the duochromes are everything, guys. But I'm sorry, guys. This palette is lacking depth. So for that reason, this is number 18. Hi, guys. As I'm sitting here editing this video, but I let you guys know this in real time during the video too, I believe. Yeah, your girl Lily lost count. So I feel like 2 palettes might have been number 14 at some time, and a couple palettes might have been number 16 at some time. Yeah, I lost count, but I quickly, well, maybe not so quickly, but I discovered my mistake. Yeah, I started getting it right eventually. But I will put the numbers on the screen from where I messed up. And yeah, I mean, pardon my dust. I'm sorry, guys. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. Okay, guys, coming in at 17. And this is another one that is strictly because of the color story. This is the Natasha Denona Lila palette. Now, guys, I want to say this was like what? Her 5th palette, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it was like the 2 big ones came out first. Or it was that 10 pan that came out first. Then the 2 big ones, something like that. Then came the, I want to say the Sunset, then the Lila. Don't quote me on it, guys. Don't quote me on it. But yeah, this is a very pretty palette, guys. Like, she's cute. She's gorgeous. She is so gorgeous. She is so cute. She is so pristine. And guys, I will say, yeah, these mattes that are in here would be deep enough for a look such as this. But guys, it is a purple and pink palette. Now, you can do a couple of basic looks in here, like a neutral look. You can use a couple of these shades and turn out a neutral look. But after that, we're just doing pinks and purples. And I mean, this for some people may not be an everyday palette. So I had to think about it on practicality, but that's the only thing I'm talking about with this palette, because this palette is going. Like, this palette is most definitely going. Yes, this palette is going. It's a nice palette. But again, guys, the reason it's so low is because you can only get a couple types of looks out of this. And so for that reason, this is a number 17. Okay, guys, coming in at number 16, which I'm not sure why I didn't rank it higher, but I'm almost sure why I didn't rank it higher. This is Natasha Denona Circo Loco palette. Now, guys, you know this palette is after my own heart. This was like Natasha Denona's first shot at color. Guys, and did she nail it with the color? Yes, she nailed it, guys. She nailed it with the color. But here's the thing, guys. Why I have it so low is, again, the choices in the mattes are not bad, because we could do fine with having this as a deepening shade. We could, guys. But here's the thing. That is one of her, like, cream the powder mattes. And look, it look a little bit hard pan, does it not? And I've only used this palette once. So, yeah, I'm just not a fan of that formula. It just takes too much building up. And if you look at the other mattes that are not that type of formula, they're really soft, guys. Like, they're really, really soft. Like, guys, this is good for a transition shade. That's it. Okay. This one, you can put it in your crease, but that's not deepening nothing up. And then this one, well, it's just a hair short of being a pastel. So that's the only reason, guys. But the shimmers are bae, okay? I'm not gonna hold you guys, my peeps. The shimmers are absolutely positively bae, okay? Yeah, we're not playing games with these shimmers, okay? We are not playing games with these shimmers. Like, we're just not, guys. We're just not. These shimmers are everything, guys. But, again, guys, I feel like in order for a palette to be top-notch and ranked at the top, it needs to like check all of the boxes, and this one does not. But if she would even coin this as like an all shimmer palette, I could have gotten behind it a little better than putting in, you know, those cream to powder mats. I'm just not a fan, guys. But it's still a lovely palette. I still really enjoy it. It's just not very practical. And for that reason, yeah, it's number 16. Okay, guys, coming in at number 15. Yeah, this is a nice palette. I don't remember why it's number 15. We have the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. Guys, this is a beautiful palette. I feel like this right here is definitely so fall appropriate, but then it is summer appropriate too. Winter appropriate too. This is just a very well-rounded palette when it comes to the color story. But here's the thing, and I'm not the only one who has said these things about this palette. It's those cream to powder mattes in here. I feel like this is like sort of when she first started trying to get her feet wet with those cream to powder mattes. And this palette is like, it's flooded with them, guys. It is flooded with them. It is flooded with them. And yeah, it's flooded with them. You can tell because they look real sheeny. Okay, look like sheeny. The only reason I have it as low as it is because if this did not have the cream to powder mattes in it, I'm not gonna hold you. This probably would have been number 1. But I also think ease of use is quite important. And with this one, like, yeah, it's just not easy to use those mattes. But these shimmers though, like these shimmers, like what are we doing here? Like, what is really going on up in here? These shimmers look wet. Guys, these shimmers, they are unmatched. Okay, maybe not unmatched. Okay, you're reaching, Lily. You're reaching. But they're really, really good. And the color story is really, really nice. But again, guys, yeah, I couldn't rank it higher because the match in this palette are kind of problematic. Bars. So for that reason, this is in number 15. Guys, somehow your girl Lily has gotten ahead of herself. I feel like I was ranking something 15 when it should have been 14. I was ranking something 16 when it should have been 15 because I only have 13 palettes left. But I do have 25 palettes. And while I would love to go and check my footage and see where I messed up at, guys, I'm just asking you to give me grace, okay? But we're at number 13 now, guys. For real, guys. For real. But I'll be sure to edit the numbers in the video when I start messing up, okay? So, coming in at number 13, guys. I mean, I didn't think I would rank this as high as I did because I'm not really a cool tone lover like that. But I love this palette, though. Yeah, coming in at 13 is the Natasha Denona Glam palette. Now, guys, this palette right here is going. This palette is definitely going. I feel like when you look at this color story, this color story is a cool tone lover's dream. And the quality is top notch. And I feel like this is more so the cool tone counterpart to her I Need a Nude palette. Is I Need a Nude? Is that the name of the palette? But guys, this is a lovely palette. Like, I have no problem with anything about this palette. The mattes perform well. And guys, you have a matte deep enough, okay, for my dark, my deeper skin tone beauties. Guys, the shimmers, they are bae. Guys, I feel like when it comes to the shimmers, there is not a dud in this palette. Okay, no, there's not a dud in this palette. There are a couple that I maybe consider more so top of shades, like this shade, brow bone. I mean, it's a brow bone shade. It's not meant to be all glitz in your face. And that's what I love about this palette too. It just lets you know where you need to place it. Center eyelid, outer eyelid. Yeah, she just thought this out. This is a very nice, I want to say, beginner-friendly palette because the ease of use of the mattes are everything. The shimmers are the bomb.com. You have a nice array of like glitzy shimmers and, you know, satiny type shimmers. Yeah, I can see us getting behind this one. You can get a lot of daytime appropriate looks out of this palette, even though it's cool tone, but it's cool toned in the softest way, guys. I mean, this is nice. This is a nice palette. The only reason it's not ranking higher is because the other ones, I love just the hair more. But guys, right now, I'm just splitting hairs with these palettes because any palette from here on out, databomb.com. But again, guys, this is just, you know, cool tone is the only way you can go with this palette. And for that reason, and that reason alone, this is number 13. Okay, guys, coming in at number 12. And I really do like this palette. This one is the Natasha Denona My Dream palette. Now, guys, the reason I love this palette is because, guys, I mean, do I really have to tell you why I love this palette? Guys, this is a pretty color story. This is one of those palettes that you can pack in like your overnight bag. You do get like those nice burgundies. You do get the neutral tones. You do have something that you can change from day to night real quickly with that black. Yeah, like, I can understand why this is her dream palette. It's got some of everything in here. Some of everything. And I mean, guys, the mattes, I mean, these mattes, when I say these mattes are everything, these mattes are everything. And I mean, as far as like this matte right here, this is totally the matte that was needed in, say, like one of her other palettes that maybe had like the purples in it and stuff like that, but was not deep enough. Guys, this is just a nice palette. There's no need for me to hem and haw about it anymore. This is pretty. This is a pretty palette. The only reason, again, it's not ranked higher is I just favor the other palettes a little bit more. But she nailed it. She nailed it with this palette. For sure, guys. For sure. But only because I have other ones and I have reached for more. This one is number 12. Okay, guys. Coming in at number 11. And this is the palette that I'm wearing on my eyes today, guys. And I absolutely love it. The Natasha Denona Star Palette. Now, guys, this palette here is the bomb.com. Like, when I say this was like her third or fourth palette, like, this was way up there. Like, I think this came out right before the sunset, if I'm not mistaken. Guys, but look at this color story. This color story is so stinking cool. Guys, this color story is the bomb.com. And what I really love about this palette, guys, I mean, people still hem and haw and still try to put this shade in the palette. They palettes, okay? The blue with the brown shift. Guys, while people tripping, okay, Natasha did it first, okay? She may not have done it best, but she still did it first, guys. So she is the GOAT, okay? I know you see that, guys, okay? Like, she put that on the map. I feel like everybody followed suit after that, but I love everything about this palette. It's got the nice amount of deepening shades. All my beauties can utilize this palette. Like, this can totally be a transition shade for my deeper skin tone beauties, and that could totally be like a wash of color for my fair tone beauties. Like, these burgundies, databomb.com, even though, guys, I will say this, okay? And Natasha Denona rare form, this is something like a repeat shade. I feel like we didn't need both. That's another reason it's lower on the totem pole, because I feel like we didn't need both. We didn't need those two. I feel like everything else, though, yeah, everything else has a place. Everything else has a place. The only reason it's not ranked higher is because it's more cool tone than anything. And I'm not really a cool tone girl. I'm just not a cool tone girl like that. I'm starting to, but not yet. And again, it's just because I have other palettes that I love more. And even though this formula is great, there are some that like are higher up that, yeah, are blowing these shimmers out the water. So, for that reason, guys, this is number 11. Okay, guys, we have reached the top 10. And when I say these choices were difficult, guys. They just were. So, coming in at number 10, guys, is the Natasha Denona Retro Palette. Guys, this is another beautiful color story. Listen, Linda. Listen, honey. This one right here, now this one is the bomb.com. I feel like this is a great companion palette for the My Dream palette. Because, guys, the shades, they go so well together. When looking at these two side by side, I feel like whatever this one is missing, this one has. You have your black in here to deepen up this palette. You know what I mean? You have maybe some lighter mauves in here to complement these shimmers. Yeah, yeah. It's the bomb.com. It's the bomb.com. And I just think that this is a real nice girly palette. And I feel like this is also Valentine's Day appropriate. This is like sophisticated Valentine, if you will. And I mean, I love every shade in this palette. Okay, I love every shade in this palette with the exception of one. Rebellion. And we've been down that road before. That's one of those cream to powder ones. But everything else, guys, I mean, I love this palette. Now, I will tell you this. There are a couple in here that I totally like topper shades, but I found when I use my glitter glue, they go on pigmented. It's all get out. So yeah, this one is a real nice one, guys. I see myself reaching for this a little bit more than the others. I've actually reached for this one already 3 times. And that's saying a lot because I don't reach for many palettes more than once. So yeah, I really like this palette. And for that reason, this made the top 10. Okay, guys, coming in at number 9. This palette was all the rage when it first came out. I want to say this is when she really started dipping her feet into the little Midi palettes. When she started making 15 shades, but more affordable with less product. And guys, this is a nice one. This is Natasha Denona Sunrise Palette. Guys, I know you remember this Sunrise Palette. Guys, it was all the rave. Because look at it, guys. I mean, look at those colors. Those colors are gorgeous. Like, it is indicative of what it says it is. A sunrise. Like, you've got the pretty yellows. You've got the pretty oranges. Guys, like, that is just cute. You have the nice shimmers. You've got these burgundies in here. You've got, like, these orangey golds in here. Guys, like, this palette, okay. I can't keep on, I can't hit my home with this palette enough. This palette is really, really cute. Really, really cute. Okay, really cute. Okay, guys, if I can show you. Okay, yeah, there you go. This is a nice palette. This one, I would say, is like the sister to the Sunset palette. If I'm being honest, they go very well together. And guys, I mean, the color story just slaps. Okay, what can I say? This palette, though, I feel like is very fall appropriate. You can do it in the summertime. You really can do this any time of the year, if I'm being honest. The only reason it's number 9 is because, yeah, I just have 8 more that I prefer better. But guys, this is still a lovely palette, which is why it's in my top 10. And what number is it? And that's the reason it's in the top 10 at number 9. Okay, guys, this was a hard decision because I had this much higher. Then I brought it back a little. Then I brought it up some more. And then I brought it up a little bit more. But I ended up landing on number 8 with this palette. Number 8 is the Natasha Denona Yucca palette. Guys, is it Yucca? Is it Yucca? Let your girl know, okay? I know it's one of the two. But guys, enough of all that. Can we give it up for this color story? Guys, this color story is the bomb.com. Guys, I love this color story. Now, I know I had palettes ranked lower because the color story was so like concise and it was compact and it was limited to a specific type of color. And yes, this is pretty much grungy greens. Yeah. Few little oranges and more greens. But gosh, that's my vibe. I love green. Like, I will wear green shadow to church. I will, guys. I will. And this palette here, yeah. She checked all the boxes when it came to like a nice green, grungy type of color story in a sophisticated way. Guys, these mattes, like the curation of the mattes, I feel like it's so well thought out. Like, we totally need both of those. We totally need both of those, okay? I feel like we definitely need both of those. I mean, this green right here, though, I feel like, wow, it is a nice green and it is pigmented. Depending on your base, guys, yeah, that could be a little ashy, but with the right base, it's fine. But no, guys, these shimmers, though. It's all about these shimmers, okay? Lily, Juicy got them crazy. All about these shimmers. Guys, these shimmers are the bomb, okay? I'm not going to hold you. I don't have to let you know. Like, this was the craze, okay? Soon as this palette came out, guys, I had to scoop it because I was scared it was going to sell out. I really was, guys. I really was. I get happy thoughts when I think about this palette. I've used this palette more than once. Oh, guys. This palette is just beautiful. Like, it really is, guys. It really is. And it was really tough. I wanted to put this even closer toward the top, but when I did the weighing out, it was just like splitting hairs. And this just ended up where it ended up. But this is a nice palette. And it absolutely deserves to be number 8. Okay, guys, coming in at number 7. Guys, this palette, when it first came out, it took my breath away, guys. It did. It did. Number 7 is the Natasha Denona Bronze Palette. Guys, this is another one that was all the craze when it had first came out. Y'all remember, guys? You guys please remember that? Guys, I don't have to remind you of this color story. That color story so stinky cute. Guys, it's just what it says. This is a bronze palette. Like, you are going to get a bronzy look out of this palette every single time without fail. That's what you're going to get when you pick up this palette and use it. It's nice and warm. Guys, like, so fall appropriate and summer appropriate. Honestly, this is a year-round palette. This is a palette you can go in here and creative look, and there is no way you could be offensive even if you try, guys. Even if you try. And I mean, it does have just this one real deep shade right here, which is deep dive. But guys, it is a bronze palette. That's all it really needs. Guys, listen. 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 When I use this palette, I mean, guys, I get the Natasha Denona Sunset vibes. And I love those shimmers. Guys, and these mattes, I mean, they're forced to be reckoned with too. Okay? They just are, guys. They just are. Yes. I love this palette. Okay? It is no question I love this palette. In the summertime, I would totally take this palette with me. And yes, I'm one. I will take a high-end palette with me if I'm like going somewhere stationary that I know that I'm going to be in that hotel room. I'm going to be at a house or something like that I can just keep my makeup because the makeup goes on the plane with me. So yeah, but I totally love this palette. Like, I love this palette. I love everything about it, guys. So it's no question. By the way, I'm cooling over this palette. Why is number 7? Okay, guys, we are coming up on home stretch. And guys, the reason I ranked this palette as high as I did is not just because of practicality, but because I feel like more beauties can appreciate this color story. And the formula is thebomb.com. Okay. The Natasha Denona Bieber palette. Guys, now, I remember when this Bieber palette came out, I'm surprised it didn't sell out. But look at this color story. Like, look at the color story. This one here is absolutely positively a neutral tone lover's dream. Guys, this is another one that checks all the boxes when it comes to like practicality and being neutral and being not offensive. Guys, the black right here, the black does it for me because you can take a natural look and turn it to a nighttime look in a flash just by adding a little black in your outer V, or like a halo eye with the black, pop a shimmer in the middle. You are good to go. Guys, this palette, while not exciting as some of the others that I've shown you, I put it as high as I did because it's just so practical. It's so practical. Like, I mean, guys, my grandmama, God rest her soul, she could totally wear this palette. I feel like it's friendly on the lids, you know, if for mature lids like my own, okay? Yeah, the mattes are just not, the mattes are on point. The shimmers are not offensive at all. The shimmers are absolutely wonderful, guys. Like, they are, guys. They are. I do. This palette is nice, okay? This palette is really, really nice. And I will tell you, okay? Yeah. I just got a little spillage there, but don't mind that, guys. I will tell you. You know what this palette is a good companion of? I'm gonna keep it real with you. The Natasha Denona I Need a New palette, because I feel like this has everything that palette does not, and vice versa. Like, yeah, this is just nice. I feel like this will work great for like my working beauties. Put this in your kit for weddings and things like that. Oh yeah, you can do so many different washes of color with this. These are literally one and done mattes. Guys, if you put, what's this shade? It's a cocoa. If you put cocoa all over your lid and then blend it out, you gotta look. If you put any of these mattes all over your lid, you gotta look. Guys, yeah. This is a nice palette. I cannot believe Lily, who has always loved color, is like horn over a neutral palette, okay? But yeah, I am though. Because it's practical and it's cute. And that's why it's in number 6. Okay, guys. We are at the top 5. And coming in number 5, guys. I mean, guess what it is, guys? I mean, like, we only have a few palettes left. That's because this is the first one she did that gave us the neutrals. This is the first one she did that gave us that pretty color story. The Natasha Denona Sunset Palette. Guys, this is a classic, okay? I had to put it higher up because it's a classic, guys. It's a classic. Guys, look at this color story. I mean, I don't have to show you this color story. You have seen this color story 1,000,001 times on the tube in the past 5+ years. But guys, it still rocks to this day. Guys, I love this palette. Now, this is the well-rounded palette. This is the palette to get. This was the palette to get. Like, it's got the deepening shades. It's got the transition shades. It's got those nice orangey shades, the terracottas, the shimmers, and that pop of yellow. Guys, this palette was such the rave. ColourPop came out with a dupe, okay? Wasn't it called the Pretty Please palette or something like that, or the something palette? I forget the name of the palette, but you remember that palette, okay? Guys, listen, Linda, listen, honey. And this was well before Natasha thought that cream to matte shades belonged in the palette. Guys, this is the one. Like, this is the one. I don't have to tell you this is the one, okay, guys? Like, yeah, this is a nice palette. Like, this is a really cute palette, okay? Those are the shimmers right there. So, yeah, I'm not going to stay on this long because we all know about this palette. This palette is nothing new. But so what? This palette is a classic. And that's why it's in number 5. Okay, guys. Finally, we have reached the final four. And looking at these palettes that I have left here, I totally stand 10 toes down on my choices. Guys, and number 4, because how could it not be? It is none other than the Natasha Denona Green Brown Palette. Guys, now I'm not going to hold you. This is definitely one of the OGs. Like, this palette was before a sunrise, a sunset. It was before any of those guys. Before those palettes was the big buddies. Guys, I know you remember this palette. I know you do. I know you do, guys. I know you do. Guys, this is a wonderful palette. Like, this one, I believe when she made these bigger ones, yeah, she made the bigger palettes with, like, you know, what? Makeup, like, stylists. Yeah, in mind, makeup artists, okay? In mind, because, guys, like, look, okay, then here when she started doing micro glitter. Like, it's micro glitter, I'll do that, guys. Let me block out the light a little bit. It's too much. Guys, the micro glitters, okay, they did it for me. They did it for me, guys. Listen, Linda. Listen, honey. I don't have time to play with you. I don't. I do not. Like, you think it's a game, but it's clearly not. Guys, listen. I actually had some of these in her 5 pans. Now, those of you guys, my peeps who don't know, she actually had her bigger palettes broken up into 5 pans. But no, guys, this palette is lovely, okay? I love everything about this palette. The fact that it's neutral. Now, is this more product than one person can ever use? Absolutely. I mean, of course it is. But that's with most of the palettes. But I love this one here. I love the glitz. This right here, this is for the shimmer snobs. I'm not even going to hold you. This one is for the shimmer snobs, honey. And I'm definitely one of those. So, yeah. No more to say here. No more to see here. I stand on it right now. Tomorrow, forever, always. This palette is number 4. Okay, guys. Coming in number 3. You probably already know. Yeah. It's the Purple Blue palette. Guys. Now, this is her other big palette. She only has 2 of them that this monstrous. I don't even remember what I paid for it. But I just remember my mama died was watching the haul when I did it. And she told me after I mentioned the price of this palette, she had to stop watching the video. Guys, this is a gorgeous palette, okay? This palette is so stinky curl. God, look at it. Like, it is purple and blue. Like, you know those my jams. I love anything purple and anything blue. Like, those 2 in a palette are genius, guys. They're genius. Just like the green brown palette. Because you know why? Green and brown blend together rather nicely without getting muddy. And purple and blue blend together rather nicely without getting murky. God, like, I mean, listen. I don't have to defend myself. Like, what am I defending myself for? Like, why am I defending myself? Like, is there something to defend here? Like, I don't think so. Like, I mean, if it is, like, is you gonna focus for me? You don't have to, because I'm just watch. I mean, if it's a reason, I mean, come on now. Like, we can go. All are welcome. But no, guys. These are thebomb.com. Okay, like, the mattes out of bomb.com as well, guys. I mean, but they're Natasha Denona mattes. Look at that blue. Like, guys, I mean, come on now. What are you talking about? Like, this is it, guys. This is it. So, yeah. No more to say here. No more to see here. Forever and ever, amen. This is number 3. Okay, guys. My Natasha Denona lovers out there. you already probably know what 2 palettes are left. So comment down below, out of the 2, which one you think is number 1. Yeah, go ahead. Don't worry. I'll wait. Okay, guys. I really kind of had a hard time with which one I was going to make number 2 and which one I was going to make number 1, because they're both stellar palettes. Like, these are the ones that when I look at these palettes, I get happy. I get really, really happy. Even happier than with the big buddies. But coming in at number 2, guys. The Natasha Denona Gold Palette. Guys, now this palette gave a lot of people FOMO, because this palette actually went out of stock. And she had us thinking she was never going to come back out with it. And guys, I was crying for you guys, my peeps that didn't have it and wanted it, you know, as I sat and looked at mine. But guys, I'm so glad she came back out with it. And if you love Natasha Denona, I hope you had a chance to get this palette. Guys, she's a beauty. Like, she is a beauty. And while Natasha could have just stopped at the neutrals and the golds, she implemented 3 greens. And I feel like they totally have a place in this palette. Guys, this palette is beautiful. Like, I love everything about it. Okay, this is one of the cream to mattes, the cream to powder mattes that I can get behind, because it didn't even take me long to build this one up. And guys, like, all of the colors, it's almost like, you know, this is gold with like a green hue. It would go so perfectly with the greens. And guys, even the golds in this palette would go with the greens. Like, the greens go with the browns. Like, yeah, like, she nailed it with this one. She really nailed it with this one. And guys, this is another one that can be totally like an everyday type of palette. It really is, guys. It really is, because, yeah, I mean, yeah, while the gold, yeah, it's really out there. You can share out, you can share it out, sort of, kind of, not really. But, guys, the max. And this murky green here, guys, this murky green here, like, come on, guys. Like, that murky green is everything, if it'll focus for me. There you go, guys. Guys, now, I will tell you this. I feel like this palette is the perfect companion for the Yucca palette. Guys, I feel like it's the perfect companion for that one. Because when you look at these color stories side by side, whatever this palette does not have, this one will pick up the slack. And vice versa. Guys, yeah. What can I say? Natasha thinks of it all. She thinks of it all. So yeah, this is like top notch. Like, top notch, a palette that if the building was burning and I only had time to grab a few palettes, this would definitely be one that I would grab. I would grab this one first. I'm not gonna hold you. I'm not gonna hold you. So yeah, for that reason, this one is number 2. Okay, guys, finally, we have reached the number 1 palette. And of course, you know, about a rule of deduction, things like that. You already know what it is, guys. The number 1 palette that I'm ranking 1 is most definitely the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette. Guys, you saw when I did a video using this palette. Guys, I hemmed and hawed over this thing, okay? And you can tell that I have used this palette like 1,011 times, because, guys, look at the shimmers. I have been going at these shimmers. I've been going at them. The reason I love this palette, and the reason it's number 1, not only is it like a neutral palette, like, this is like a neutral palette, but a cool tone palette, but done right. Like, it's done right in the best, softest, like, way possible. Guys, listen. It's got your soft pinks in there. You know, you've got that deepening shade in there. Guys, you've got like darker shimmers. You have lighter shimmers. You even got that pink shimmer. Guys, this is a beautiful palette. Like, this one is definitely a beautiful palette. I feel like if any of them like will cater from the fairest to like even my deepest beauty. I mean, even though there's just only one deep in this shade, I feel like the theme of this palette, that's really the only one you need, guys. I mean, yeah, this is just really cute. Like, Natasha Denona, she did her thing with this palette. And I mean, did it sell out and then come back and stop? I don't know. I'm not sure because I got mad as soon as it launched. Like, I was on the site waiting. Guys, I love this palette. I love this palette. I mean, it's just soft. It's just soft. It's quality. And I want to say, does she not have any of them cream and matte thingamabobs in here? I think she does not. Okay, guys. So, I mean, no more to say here. No more to see here. You guys already knew I love this palette when I first used it. I hem and haw about this palette like none other. I mean, I've been digging in it like, you know, I use it every day, guys. And I darn near do. So, of course, guys, this is a nice travel palette. It's just a friendly palette, not offensive at all, while still being beautiful. And for that reason, I Need a New Palette is #1. Okay, guys, finally, we've reached the end of this ranking video. And if you're still hanging with your girl Lili, you're most definitely early. Comment down below your favorite Natasha Denona palette, because your girl Lili is more than interested to know. Guys, I really enjoyed doing this ranking video for you guys, my peeps. This was something new, something I've never done before, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. If there's like a brand that you'd be interested in see me ranking their palettes, let me know, because I may have a few of them. But guys, yeah, this was fun. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed it a lot. Trust, believe. So I really want to thank you guys for hanging out with me today while I rank my Natasha Denona full size and Midi palettes. And yeah, I always love connecting with you guys, my peeps, every chance I get. Every chance I get. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. It only gets greater later, guys. It only gets greater later. So until next time, guys, stay real, stay positive, stay up, and damn it, you better watch, fight, and pray.